Gilbert Gottfried, and this is Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Frank Santopadre, and we're once again at Nutmeg with our engineer, Frank Verderosa. Now, if you think when we have one guest, these introductions are long, I can pretty much tell you we could have a cab waiting for you after there'll be no time for the actual interview.
It's a two-pager.
Yes.
It's the rare two-page intro.
Our guests this week are two of the busiest, most versatile, and most accomplished actors of their generation. Jessica Walter has starred in Broadway plays and musicals, appeared in police dramas, situation comedies, soap operas, and variety shows, and appeared in films like The Group, Grand Prix, Lilith, Tapeheads, The Flamenco Kid, The Slums of Beverly Hills, Bye Bye Braverman, and, of course, Clint Eastwood's directorial debut. Play Misty for me. Her numerous, and I do mean numerous, TV appearances include The Fugitive, Mannix, Love American Style, Columbo, Ironside, Hawaii Five-0, Dinosaurs, Coach, Just Shoot Me, The Big Bang Theory, Retired at 35, Saving Grace, and Amy Prentice, for which she won an Emmy as an outstanding lead actress. She's also been nominated for an Emmy for her role as the boozy socialite Lucille Bluth on this beloved comedy Arrested Development, and she currently stars in the hit FX series Archer as the headstrong spy mistress Mallory Archer. Ron Leibman is...
Bravo.
Should we have an applause?
I love him. He's just... he moves me deeply. I heard he passed away. Is that true? Oh. Well, read his credits anyway.
This
Give him a break.
This is our in memoriam part of the show.
Amazing.
Let him do the intro.
I don't care about it. Let's just get to the interview.
Ron Leibman is an award-winning performer with stage credits, including Rumors, I Ought to Be in Pictures, We Bombed in New Haven, The Merchant of Venice, winning a Tony for his powerful performance as Roy Cohen in the Pulitzer Prize-winning play Angels in America. TV appearances include Police Story, The Practice, Law and Order, Murder, She Wrote, Friends, and The Sopranos. He also won...
It's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
He also won an Emmy for his role as the ex-con turned lawyer in the CBS series Cause, and a show he also co-wrote and co-created, and he's been in memorable films like The Super Cops, Slaughterhouse-5, Norma Ray, Far Lap, Zorro the Gay Blade, Night Falls on Manhattan, Garden State, and two personal favorites on this podcast, The Hot Rock and Where's Papa. In their long and distinguished careers, they've shared the screen with James Garner, Warren Beatty, Kirk Douglas, Zero Mostel, George Segal, Helen Hayes, Charlton Heston, Burt Lancaster, Gene Hackman, and Robert Redford, and worked with iconic directors like George Roy Hill, Arthur Hiller, John Frankenheimer, Herbert Ross, and Sidney Lumet. Please welcome to the show our very first married couple. And
Let's see how the night goes, okay?
The jury's still out.
The jury's still out is right.
And the most successful acting duo since London Fontaine. Jessica Walter and Ron Leibman.
Bravo.
Neil Simon said we were the Polish Lunts.
Oh, I love that.
We were in rumors together. He said, "You're the Polish lunch."
I love it.
And I was talking to you right before we went on. I just wanted the audience to. When I was a kid, me and my two older sisters, Arlene and Karen, lived in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. And we would go, I don't know, maybe it was filming 2 days or 3. We would walk over to the Brooklyn Museum to watch the car crash in front of the Brooklyn Museum for the movie The Hot Rock.
What a lonely childhood.
Trust me.
You have no idea, Ron.
Trust me. If I had a good social life, I wouldn't know at least.
That's right.
Me and Frank are basically products of a terrible social
We've
life.
talked about the Hot Rock on this show. You were Murch, the driver.
Yeah, I was Merch, the driver,
Yeah.
yes. I had to learn how to drive one of those 37-wheeler things. I actually had to learn that. And I did. It was an interesting bunch of people, George Siegel and Robert Redford, Paul Sand, and Zero. I got to work with Zero,
Oh, what was
who I
that like?
adored. Well, we shared a trailer. They asked me if that was all right. They were trying to save some money. So I said, sure. And I couldn't wait to meet him because I had such a crush on him. I just loved him. I'd seen him in like off-Broadway things like Ulysses in Nighttown, and of course in Fiddler by that point. And I'd come into the trailer and he'd hide behind his New York Times and he wouldn't say good morning. And he had a driver and a dresser who worked for him, and I'd say good morning, and he wouldn't talk to me. So I'm sharing a trailer with two guys who are not talking to me. I don't know why. And I came in the second day, good morning, silence. And I see Zero hiding behind the New York Times. He didn't say anything. I asked the AD, I said, am I doing something that's offending these people? I said, oh, you don't know, the guy who drives for him can't speak. And that's why he hired him years ago. He doesn't speak. He doesn't hear that well. And Zero, he said, I can't explain. So the third day I walked into the trailer, and I looked at the little guy. I looked back at Zero, who was hiding. I said to the little guy, will you shut up? And the time started shaking, and he was laughing, and we became friends.
Oh, wow.
That's a good one.
He was
That is a
an
good one.
interesting man.
We had his son on this show. We had Josh Mostel. Yeah. We're both Zero fans.
Yeah.
I loved him. I really loved him. Did you ever see his paintings? He was a wonderful
I never
painter.
did.
That's how he worked his way through the blacklist. He had to sell.
Yeah.
He could work nightclubs, some cabaret stuff. But he couldn't be in films, couldn't be on major networks.
A professor of mine in film school was actually was roomed with Zero, and they were blacklisted together. A man named Arnaud Dussault. And, yeah. We've talked, the blacklist comes up a lot on this show. We just talked about it with Lee Grant.
Oh, my God.
yeah.
Great part of her life.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's funny because when the Hot Rock came out, it was like the two new guys. I mean, everybody knew Redford and Siegel, but the two new guys were you and Paul Sand.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun to watch the both of you.
Oh, thank you.
Terrific heist movie. Peter Yates, right?
Peter Yates.
Yeah.
He had just done Bullet, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Interesting choice. We actually went up in the helicopter. There was a camera there, and the doors were off. But you were I was terrifying, a Jewish kid. we do not go up in helicopters with open doors. I guess the Israeli army does, but I didn't want. And they were building the World Trade Center then, and one of the shots was the helicopter going up, flying outside the World Trade Center. So it's imprinted in my. When that horrible day happened, I said, "Oh my God!" I brought all of that back. It was fun. It was fun to make the movie, and it should have been more successful. It was a wonderful story that the old man Darryl Zanuck ran the studio, Fox, and he was booted out by his son. What's his son's name?
Oh, Richard Zanuck.
Richard.
Yeah, the Jaws producer.
So this was Richard's movie. Richard wanted to do this. So when Richard took over the studio, this was his film. Just before the film was going to open, the father came back into power and threw Richard out and threw the movie out too. Redford called me once from Boston. He had a piece of the film. He said, "We just opened with not one commercial on television and nothing in the papers except the reviews."
What a shame. There's such talent.
It could have been a much more successful. It's a very funny movie.
It's highly regarded today.
And is it Moses Gunn?
Moses Gunn?
Yeah.
Yes,
He's like
sure.
an
What a
African.
memory.
Sure. Oh, William Goldman wrote the script. And Quincy
In
Jones.
fact, I even remember the theme song.
Of course you do.
Yes. Dun 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 da 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 dun da da. Dun 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 da 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 da.
Ron is staring at him.
You've not been in many musicals, I think.
He does this on the show. He recalls old theme songs.
In fact, another theme song I remember. Well, now both of you worked with Sidney Lumet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Twice I worked with him.
She worked with Sidney twice, yes.
What was it like? What both of your recollections?
Well, Gilbert loves Bye Bye Braverman.
Yeah.
Talks
Speaking of
about
George Siegel.
That's
Yes.
right. That's
George
right.
Siegel, yeah.
An amazing cast in that movie.
Yeah, George and
Joseph
Wiseman and
Sorrel Book.
Yes.
what's it? Oh my
What a
God.
great memory
Oh,
you
when they
have.
get old, it's so sad. Alan King.
Yes.
That's right. He was the rabbi.
Alan King, Zora Lampert,
Right.
Yes.
Phyllis Newman.
But let's see. There was Jack Warden.
And Jack Warden. Right.
Yes. Sidney loved Jack. He used him in many, many movies. And after that, I did the group. No, actually, I did the group first. And then I did. And I was a replacement in Bye Bye Braverman. He called me. He said, Bubby. He called me Bubby. Bubby, I need a favor. It was a cameo role. He said, I shouldn't tell the story, should I? Well,
You want me to tell?
No.
Because I don't give a damn. I'm retired. I couldn't care less.
Doesn't care.
Anyway, let's just say for reasons unknown, I replaced Maureen Stapleton in that role. I can't
You're
say.
very similar in type.
And I thought it was so strange.
Right.
I thought it was so strange because I was like 26 years old. And we're not exactly the same type, but what an honor to replace Maureen Stapleton.
Right.
She's a wonderful actress.
Sure.
And I
Brilliant.
remember with Bye Bye Braverman, it was, have you seen Braverman dancing? He was the king of the ball.
Oh, my
Whirling
God.
and twirling and prancing, doing the Braverman waltz. Da 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 da
Yes.
da.
Oh, my God.
Da 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 da.
Brilliant.
Da 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 da.
I like the lyrics.
Da 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 da. Bum 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 bum.
Oh, my
bum.
God.
That was
This is why you're doing this show. It gives you the opportunity
That's right.
to sing.
absolutely.
Could you do Rockabye Your Baby with a Dixie melody?
Oh, my God.
You figured him out.
That's
Oh, yes.
impressive.
Rockabye, my baby.
Sounds like Jerry.
Yes.
With a Dixie melody.
Wait, I have to tell
And
you
when
something.
you sing,
Wait,
I'll sing.
Ron, shh. Ron does Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin
Hey, Jerry.
together. Listen to this.
Jerry, I want to talk loud. You're going to have to hold down, Jerry. You don't want to hear that.
Yeah, we
Yes,
do.
we do.
I could do Renee Taylor and Joe Bologna talking.
Ronnie, do Cary Grant.
I can only do Cary Grant sneezing.
Yeah.
Want to hear Cary Grant?
Yes.
I actually did this on the Tonight Show because they had Frank
do it,
Gorshin
Ron.
was on. And I said, I feel
Just
so
do it,
out of it, I need to do an impression. Johnny,
Ronnie,
would
just
you
do
like
it.
to hear Cary Grant sneezing? And he looked at me strange, and I went, oh, choo, choo, choo.
Do a little Jerry for Ron.
Yeah, you
He'll-
do, Jerry.
Yeah, he's got a great.
Yes.
He does a great one.
Let's hear it.
Oh, it's the thing with the person and the and he's walking with the
Very good, bravo.
It's good. It's good. Ron didn't do it. We don't want to follow that.
Yes.
You can't follow that.
No, you can't.
You and me, we're gonna be partners. You and me, we're gonna be pals.
You
my
sing that.
When was the last time you were asked about Bye Bye Braverman in an interview, Jessica? It's been a while, huh? He brought it up maybe the fourth show we
I
did.
can't get over it. I'm so impressed.
Oh.
I don't think anyone's ever asked me.
There you go.
It's
But it was a good movie.
It's one of those films that Sidney Lumet himself admits was not a perfect film. But it's one of those, when it's on TV, I have to watch it. It's one of those films that grabs me each time. Bye Bye Brave Men is way up there on that list.
Oh,
of
I'm so
films.
glad you think so, because I sure enjoyed the experience.
We've talked about Lumet a lot on this show. We've talked about The Verdict.
Yes.
We've talked about, you're a big fan of The Pawnbroker.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, who isn't?
Yeah.
The Group?
Oh,
Have you seen
yes.
The Group?
Sure.
Group was good.
Sure. You were Libby.
And
I was Libby in The Group. And the advertisement was I just knocked the microphone, Libby with a big red scar for a mouth. They had like the 8 girls like in a little horseshoe,
Sure.
each picture, and that was my title.
And I remember they used to say the biggest star in a Sidney Lumet film was New York.
Right. True.
Absolutely.
Absolutely
He
true.
knew how to film New York. It was
sure
an amazing thing.
Well, they're like time capsules. You go back and I just watched Dog Day Afternoon, and you go back and watch them.
Oh, my God,
And you really
yes.
see the city.
Yeah.
Pawnbroker 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Dog Day Afternoon, and Bye Bye Braverman.
Serpico.
Yes, Serpico.
We were all over Bye Bye Braverman. They were all over the place.
Yeah.
Cemetery in Queens.
And
One of the big
speaking of the group,
Yes.
didn't Mr. Eastwood see you in the group and decide
did.
that you were...
You know, they wanted the studio. It was Universal. They wanted Lee Remick because they owed her pictures, and he told me that later. But anyway, he just felt he had seen the group, and actually, he was looking at somebody else in the group. I won't say who.
Not Maureen Stapleton.
No, she wasn't in it. No,
I know.
But he thought I would be right from seeing
Was
Libby.
Plain Misty for me, and this is trivia I just found doing a little, and I hope this is true. Was it based on an incident that happened to Gene Shepard, the radio host? You know Gene Shepard?
Yes,
I
of course.
remember
of
him
course.
very well.
Christmas
No, I
Tree.
love
think it
Gene
was.
Shepherd.
Is that erroneous information?
I think that's
I don't think
erroneous. It was written by a woman named Jo Hyams.
Yeah, Joe Himes.
I've never heard that it was related to Gene Shepard. No,
Interesting.
No.
Now, the actress, Brenda Vaccaro.
Oh, she introduced us.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
That's
Yes,
what I'm bringing.
yes.
That's what, from Midnight Cowboy and a bunch of
the
films.
best.
I heard she pretty much forced you
She did.
two together.
She said, "Go out with Chinese with Ron, with us, with her husband at the time. You don't have to marry him." So of course,
She came to Australia. I was doing a film in Australia.
well,
and
not she, me,
the kid over here.
because we're talking about Brenda.
Beautiful girl.
But let me just say this before that. There's that Brenda and Ron. This is good trivia. Brenda and Ron were doing Zorro the Gay Blade.
Oh, yes.
In Mexico, and for Christmas break, he lived in New York, but it was closer to stay. She invited him to her house and to stay there, and she always had a huge Christmas party, with 800 of her closest friends. So she invited Ron and she invited me. I came with my whole family that was visiting from the East, blah, blah, blah. And we hello and goodbye. Nothing happened. And then she called and she said, "You must go out with Ron."
Oh, we started talking on the
On
phone.
the phone.
You would call her like at 5 o'clock every day, and I would pick up knowing it was you. It was a way to get to know you, and we became
Didn't you run up a
pals.
crazy high phone bill because you were talking long distance?
No, we weren't long distance.
She
That
was
was
in
in
LA.
Australia.
Oh, I didn't mean it was in
All
Australia.
the phone bills in Australia.
Yeah.
She used to call me in Australia, and she would, for $42,000 a minute, she would say, "Do Walter Brennan talking to Gary Cooper."
Do it, Ronnie. This is great.
Now, you've all heard Walter Brennan,
Yes.
Of course.
but you've not heard him talking to Gary Cooper.
No.
Hey, boy. Hey, doing, son? Okay, Pop. There's not a big call for
Would
him.
that be the Westerner
That-
or Pride of the
that's
Yankees?
good.
That's great.
But she wouldn't leave the two of you alone until you got married.
She was very instrumental in she's a wonderful person and a great friend. And I said, "That's the best thing you ever did for me, was introducing me to Ron and pushing it."
She did
This is the story about Australia, which he was about to tell. He went to do Far Lap in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
And he invited me to go. Now, I had been in Australia twice. Once for the Love Boat, we did the real cruise.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 2-hour Love Boat. And once a year they did like a real cruise.
Yeah.
So we did the Fiji Islands. We ended up in Sydney. And the second time was a pilot. Or was that later? Aaron's Way in Adelaide. But anyway, so she said, I said, Ron invited me to come to Australia. And I said, but, it's the other end of the earth. What do I need this for? She said, you will go. It is an investment in your life. She was right.
And wasn't there a clunky proposal, Ron? I read somewhere there was, you referred to it as a Jerry Lewis proposal?
It was.
Oh, that's how I referred to it. It was proposal on New Year's Eve in my New York apartment. She was still living in California. I never gave up my New York apartment because I didn't
We
like it.
still live in it.
For you.
It's been remodeled
Bravo.
a little bit. But anyway, I was in a very long white bathrobe. I'd taken a bath. And she was seated in the living room. And my plan was to get down on one knee and then put out the little box in my hand and open the box and offer her the ring and ask her to marry me. So I tripped on the front of my bathroom. Hey, lady! Went right into her. Just humiliated myself. I was so nervous. And I said, and you can do the punchline.
I'll do my part.
And the box was still in my hand and I was shaking. I said, will you marry me? And she said,
I said, if I say yes, can I see what's in the box?
Nice.
That was 33 years ago.
Wow.
30.
we just celebrated 33 years.
Congratulations.
Oh, my God.
Thank you.
Yeah. We've both been married before. So between us, we have about 110 years of marriage. But this is it.
No more, huh?
The second time around, it's true. It's better for us anyway.
And now you've worked with George Segal a few times.
A lot.
Me too.
A lot.
Yeah,
Both of you.
You too. That's right.
Yeah, where's Papa? With
Oh, my
Ron?
God. That's right. Both
Sure.
of you.
George.
And Jessica did a sitcom with him.
That's right.
yes.
I did a sitcom and something else.
I don't know, but I called him up one day and I said, I can't get rid of you. Get out of my life.
George is one of our dream guests for this show.
Oh, I bet
you
he
would
would
love
love
him.
it. He would
Yeah.
love to
Would
do
he?
it.
We'd love to have him. Be a
Tell him
thrill.
not to bring the banjo or you'll never get a word in.
Fine.
Ron.
That's
Oh,
fine.
George and his banjo. Leave me alone with the banjo.
I used to love him playing the banjo on the Carson show.
he even played the banjo and retired at 35.
Yeah, I remember.
We got that in there.
Probably in his contract. Pathetic.
I heard that the reason he would bring the banjo on those talk shows was it was very stressful for him to do the talk shows.
It is for everybody,
Yeah.
usually, yeah.
And
Except
he
here.
felt like when he played the banjo, he was doing a performance of a guy having a great time.
What an interesting thing to say.
Yeah.
That's an acting moment.
Yeah.
he was acting.
I don't want George to think we're sucking up to him, but I have to say, for a guy that could do drama and comedy,
Yeah. He's
great. Yeah, and anything,
Absolutely great.
and films like A Touch of Class and No Way to Treat a Lady,
And just yesterday, Brother Rat.
Brother Rat,
Yeah.
I mean, real range and funny.
A lovely guy, too. A really, really lovely person.
I love even little films that people don't talk about, like The Duchess and the Dirtwater Fox. You know that film? It's very good.
He's the reason I was always working in theater. And I hadn't done no film. And we were friends. He came to see an off-Broadway play I was doing. And he brought Carl Reiner with him.
Oh.
And Carl came into my dressing room with George, and I said, would you like to play George's older brother in a movie? And he laid the script on my dressing room table. Where's Papa? And that's how I started making movies, because of George.
Sidney Hawkeiser, George's brother. We were just watching a little bit of it. Frankie, do you have any of the Where's Papa thing? This is a great moment. Let's see if we can.
Sydney!
Gladys, he sounded crazy.
He is crazy, and she's crazy. No hitting! Let him throw her out the window already.
Mom, Daddy's fighting!
No biting! You know, Sydney,
Gladys, move.
you know you're crazy too.
Move.
I think you like getting mugged every night.
Will you move?
No. Not tonight, Sydney.
I said move.
No.
Mom! they're kicking me.
Get away from that door. I'm going to choke your child.
You know who that child was?
No.
Who?
Mel Brooks' kid.
Are you kidding? Max
Carl-
Brooks.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Who's now Max Brooks.
How about that?
Carl loaned him from Mel. No, it was, I didn't know at the
That
time.
movie, I mean, Gilbert and I talk about black comedies that they don't make anymore. It's very hard to make a comedy that dark.
And you
I mean, with
never
a
saw
gag.
the original ending, which was much darker.
Yes, there was a different ending.
Yes, when he went to see her in the old age home, and she said, "Where's Papa?"
Right.
And he said, "Papa's home," and he started to get into bed with her. This they cut. There was nothing said. He could have just laid down next to her.
Right.
But the response to it was so negative from people. Obviously, they had problems, these people. And so they changed the ending. I always thought the other ending was more apropos of the film. However,
It turns a little sad in the end, too, with Sorvino is running that the old folks' home.
can't you see I'm serving luncheon?
Right. Right. But the scene where you try to make it through the park, when you're
I can't say the name of the guy who was chasing.
oh, you
me.
could say it on this show.
You can?
Yeah, sure.
Well,
It's
his
just,
name was Motherfucker.
right. Don't you remember, Gil?
Motherfucker, not tonight. Please, motherfucker, not tonight. Please, don't take my clothes off tonight.
And the second time you go through in the ape suit. Yeah. It's a hilarious movie. And they really don't make comedies that dark anymore. Imagine a joke where the guy's choking his child to get his wife to move away from the door. It's so good.
And I saw this quote from the playwright Tony Kushner. And he says of you, of Ron, he is brave and theatrical in a way that no other stage actor is.
That's true.
How do I respond to that?
Will you do more of your Jerry and Dean?
Yes.
He's working you over, Ron.
See, I played you a compliment.
You know,
That's very
it is
lovely.
true because
That's very lovely.
Ron and I did Tartuffe in L.A. at the LATC, and I was Elmire and he was Tartuffe. And after one rehearsal, I said to him, is there nothing you will not do for a laugh? I mean, it was so. I said, are you seriously considering doing and tell him what it was? The thing with the shoelace.
I can. Well, you have to
this is
really
the-
see it.
You can explain
You
it.
can't explain it. You have to see it. You don't have a television cameras here. No.
All right. Well, I tried.
What? Just we'll do it for us
I was supposed to
afterward.
rape her on a table. Tartuffe supposed to rape
attempt.
the lady of the house on a table under which the husband is hiding. It's a great Moliere moment. So all through rehearsal, she would have on capuzios to push me away with her foot, or she would have on sneakers to push me. And came the dress rehearsal, and she had these long laced boots, which I had never seen. And it was a dress rehearsal where there also was an audience, but we had never done it in full costume. So she put her leg up, and I saw these long laces, and I untied them, and I licked them from top to bottom. It was the first clitoral joke ever done downtown Los Angeles. And you know what? It worked. I swear to God it worked, or we wouldn't have ever done it again.
Great.
Yes.
They used that
Well,
picture in the ad. They used the picture of you licking the shoelace in the ad. Anyway,
And Frank sent me a note last night because he knew I'd be
Frank.
excited by this.
Yeah.
You played Shylock in Merchant of Venice.
At the public, yes, at the public theater.
Can I ask you to do some of Hath Not a Jew Eyes?
I don't remember it. My memory is gone. That's why I'm teaching. I only speak the truth here.
If we got you any of it.
I tell you the truth. I was a prostitute in Chicago. You didn't know that. There's all kinds of stuff I could tell you.
What was Ruth Gordon like before we jump off Where's Papa, Ron?
She was very quiet.
As a legendary performer.
Yeah, she was our mother. Ruth Gordon
Yeah.
played George and I.
Yeah, and Where's
mother.
Papa?
Yeah. I can't really say anything. She was there, but she didn't really talk a lot, and she was a wonderful actress. She was just a wonderful. Remember when she won the Academy Award at 80 something?
she was
it-
72.
Was it
and-
Rosemary's Baby?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was Best Supporting Actress. And she said, this was her speech, I must say this is very encouraging.
Oh, that's funny.
She was 72 years
But
old.
we never knew if she was serious or if she was kidding.
Well, she was kidding, obviously.
Well,
I've got the Shylock speech here. If you want to
Oh,
read it
for
off my
God's
phone.
I
sake!
don't remember this.
Don't do it. No, no,
I
no.
swear.
We have it on the phone.
You want to take a look and see?
Just do one line.
Yes.
Listen, he gave you Walter Brennan.
I know.
What the hell do you want?
And Gary Cooper.
And Gary
Can you
Cooper.
do Walter Brennan as Shylock?
Yeah. Has not the Jew eyes.
I want to ask Jessica, and
Yes.
we'll keep it moving, but I want to ask Jessica a little bit more about Play Misty for me.
Oh,
which
that was such a great role.
Which I watched last night again, and I mean I've seen it many times. It's a terrifying character, but there's a lot of depth to the character. I mean, you managed to make, she's not a garden variety psycho. You managed to make her both seductive and sympathetic.
Oh,
which must have
I
been
hope so.
no small feat.
Well, you know, I just thought of her as the girl next door. I never thought of her as crazy or psychotic.
Yeah.
I think that was the key. That it was really, she had to have this man or die. It was that simple.
Right.
It's kind of like an early Fatal Attraction.
Yeah, I mean, Fatal
It
Attraction
was.
owes a lot
it was,
to
yeah,
it.
it
Well,
was.
It
Exactly
was the first.
It was.
I mean, she's unstable, but you feel sorry for her.
Oh, I'm glad.
And she loves poetry. I mean, she loves Errol Garner, obviously.
It's the trick of playing villains is to get
Yeah.
the audience to have sympathy for the villain.
Is to find their vulnerability. See, that was the vulnerability. If she didn't have this man, she would die.
Right.
That's a strong goal.
I've heard you say too that you like playing bitches better than the Miss Vanilla ice cream characters.
Yes, I've said that. It's true. You know, first of all, you have a much longer career if you're not playing little sweet sea ingenues.
Right, right.
And I remember I once went up for a John Wayne movie. I forget which one, but anyway, his son was the producer, Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick Wayne.
And I was so sure I would get it, everything. And I didn't meet John Wayne, but I met Patrick and the director, whoever that was. And then it came back, the feedback was, we don't see her as the gal, standing at the gate while he runs off into the sunset with the horse. We don't see her as that kind of gal. I never got those sweetsy parts.
Good, thank goodness.
I know, well.
They're boring.
Yet I saw you in a Western clip of an episode called The Name of the Game.
Oh, my God,
With
Warren
Warren
Oates.
Oates, where you wrestle a woman.
Oh, I don't remember that clip. Oh, my God.
It's on YouTube. People
But you
can
know something?
find
I
it.
also wrestled a woman in a thing called Women in Chains. It was a movie of the week, and Ida Lupino was the warden, and I was her
Ida
helper.
Lupino, wow.
And that woman, Joyce, the blonde woman who was married to this.
Joyce Van Patten?
No, we know Joyce.
we
no,
love Joyce.
She was. Anyway, I wrestled her. So I've wrestled a couple of dames.
Gilbert just perked up.
Yes. If you can make me a clip of this in a
Yes,
reel.
I'd like to watch that myself.
Oh my God!
And you're like one of those actors who, with millions of movies, TV shows, stage productions, if you show a picture of you, they're going to go, "Oh, that's that guy from Friends."
Yeah, Dr. Green. Everybody says that. Oh, we know
Yeah.
you from Friends.
That just tells you what the power of television. And,
Yeah. Quality problems.
Yes.
folks.
Wow.
I didn't even want to do it when they asked me. But our daughters, you got to do it. You got to do it. I got to meet those kids.
She
I
was
got to
about
meet those
10 at
kids.
We got to do it.
So
oh.
she pushed me into it. I wasn't going to do it.
Oh, wow.
I'm a very difficult person. You've probably seen that by now.
She made me do Joni Loves Chachi.
Oh,
That's
wow.
right, you did Joni Loves
She made
Chachi.
I said, Joni Loves Chachi. She said, oh, Mom, I'll be so good. It'll be on the block. Everybody will be talking about it. It was the big hot show with kids.
There is no show you didn't do, Jessica.
That's quite true.
Oh, tell them about the blue lighting.
You remember, was it Universal that had
Universal
this blue
and Paramount,
kind of
too.
lighting in film? Anytime that comes up, honey, you're on.
The blue lighting on all those shows,
Blue
Maddox.
lighting.
Oh,
Barnaby
how
Jones.
interesting.
Oh.
It's a little tint. It probably was cheap, is what.
Probably.
Cheap film.
Wasn't day for night, was it? They were just
No,
it
trying to
wasn't
save money.
money.
there was a certain lighting of those 70s shows.
I was doing research for the show, and we knew you'd done a lot of stuff. But I said to Gilbert, there wasn't a cop show or a detective show or a medical show between 1965 and 1985 that you didn't do.
I was really lucky.
I
I
mean,
really was to work all the time.
yeah. Cannon,
And Phil.
Banachek, McLeod, Quincy, Mannix, Columbo, Cannon, Alias Smith and Jones, which
Oh,
we
my
took with the
God.
late Pete Dool, and Mission Impossible, and the Immortal, and I mean it just
Yeah, a lot of movies a week.
and a lot of movies of the week. Yeah,
Black Market Baby.
I thought I was marrying a high-class girl. Her father played with the NBC, played under,
That's right.
under Toscanini, and I thought I was... And on a honeymoon, what is she reading? I figured Pride and Prejudice. She's reading the June Allison story.
I love those books.
Me
I
too.
love those books.
Me too. We read a lot of them for this show. Tell us a little bit about Amy Prentice, which was a spinoff of Ironside.
Yeah. Well, it was a 2-hour Ironside, and it was not meant to be a pilot, but they liked the character.
Wasn't it one of the NBC mystery
Yeah,
movies?
it was in
they
that
did?
wheel.
Yeah.
The Wheel.
Called it the wheel.
Wheel.
And I got a call one day from my agent. He said, "Are you sitting down?" I said, "Oh, what?" He said, "They want to do it as a series in the wheel, like 2-hour shows or an hour and a half." So we did. It didn't last, but
Right. You did. What did you do? 4 of them, and you won an
we
Emmy
did 4 2-hours. Yes, I did win an Emmy.
with Art Matrano, Gil.
I love him. I love him. The best.
Our friends Frank DeCaro and Jim Colucci are here, and they're loving these references.
I love Artie.
You don't hear an Art Matrano reference every day, do you, Jim? And Helen Hunt played your daughter.
Helen Hunt, it was her first job.
Yeah.
Oh,
She was
my
9 years
God.
old.
Yeah.
Wow.
9 years, and I knew then she was going to be special. There was something about her.
And Ron, you were Jennifer Aniston's father.
Yes, and she sends me no money.
Yeah. But the resemblance between the two of you is uncanny.
Thank you.
I'm getting an erection looking
Oh,
at you.
my God.
I'll be thinking about you tonight.
What is an erection?
He really... He really
funny man.
liked, he
You'll tell
really
me
liked
later.
Jennifer. Ronnie.
I love Jennifer. I love Jennifer and David. Most of my stuff was with Jennifer and David. And I enjoyed it, yeah. I said, God, you people work hard. I've pretty much stayed away from television as much as I could because I love the rehearsal process that you have in the theater. I love those 4 weeks of discovery and finding stuff and inventing stuff. And you don't get that in weekly television. You learn your lines and you're thrown up there.
I just did a play.
Tell us about it.
Sorry, sweetie.
No, that was great timing.
Well, but we only had 2 weeks rehearsal. That's why I thought of it. For Bucks County Playhouse.
Yeah, what you did
We
Steel
did
Magnolias?
Steel Magnolias with
Yeah.
Susan Sullivan
She was
and Tricia
wonderful.
Richardson.
Yeah.
It was such a great... And Marsha Mason directed.
Wow, Marsha Mason. Glad to see her
Yes.
around.
She's the most wonderful person.
Oh, we love Cinderella Liberty
Yes.
and The Goodbye Girl.
James Caan.
Correct.
I just did
Yes.
a movie with James Caan.
And don't-
As a matter of fact, Frank, didn't we just do the ADR for James Caan movie?
Frankie Verderosa.
Did we work on that?
Was it you? Wasn't it you last week? Or
It may have been the other Frank.
no, it was you.
It was me? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
It was like 5 lines for ADR for Operation Insanity with James Caan.
I remember Cinderella Liberty. One of our guests was Paul Williams, who wrote the theme song.
That's right.
Do it for us.
Okay.
Oh, don't encourage him, Jessica.
You're very kind, Jessica. You're very
Too
kind.
kind.
Hello. What a simple way to start a love affair. Should I jump right in and say how much I care? Would you take me for the madman or the simple-hearted clown? Hello, with affection from a sentimental fool to a little girl who's broken every rule. One that brings me up when all the others seem to let me down.
I cannot believe this.
Did you ever hear anybody do
How
Paul
long
Williams?
is his contract with this show?
It's just been terminated.
This is it. This is the final
You're here
show,
for the last
ladies
show.
and germs.
He does a great Paul Williams, but we had John Biner on the show, and they did matching Paul Williams or dueling Paul Williams.
We sang
really
a duet back and forth. It was so much fun.
Now, you won an Emmy for Amy Prentice, and it got canceled. And this leads me to Ron, speaking of winning Emmys for canceled shows, tell us about Kaz.
It ran one season, and then I won the Emmy Award, and I thank CBS for the opportunity.
Television is strange that way.
It was awfully strange, and I knew nothing about television, but I had this contract with CBS. I was working in the theater, and they said, "Well, you got to do something. We keep paying you." So I wrote the idea.
Well, he had a deal with CBS. We don't say contract, we say deal.
Oh,
So people understand. Sorry, sweetie.
so what did you want to know about? I thought that interesting.
I love the back and forth that they have worked out.
So the show got on the air. Oh, I know, because I didn't know anything about television. And there come the first Sunday night, it was on.
About an ex-con who becomes an attorney.
And yes, the next con, which is possible in certain states. And it was really a Les Miserables story that his past kept following him, all the negative people from his past, and he was trying to change his life. I always found that an interesting subject. And what was my point?
You didn't have a good experience. Well, you co-wrote the show and you co-created the show.
I think the idea was that
but
we
they pulled the plug.
only get Emmys for canceled shows.
Yeah.
We've been nominated for other Emmys, and they were successes.
Isn't that interesting?
We didn't win them.
And you were in a movie that's popped up on this podcast for all the wrong reasons.
Oh, you're going for it, huh?
Yes.
Oh, I told him
yes.
about that.
Which one?
About Up the Academy?
Yes.
Up the-
yes.
Oh, you were warned.
Just and I should warn the audience, this is not one of those so bad it's good. It's just plain bad. Now, so in that movie, you actually had your name taken off it.
It was a different script when I originally agreed to do it. You know who the director was?
Robert Downey Sr.
Yeah, Bob Downey.
Of all people.
Who you liked.
I loved him. We were in this together. But then, just before we began shooting, they presented a totally different script. And they put, Me Worry character from...
Yes.
Oh, Alfred E. Newman, yeah.
I said, this is not what I signed on for. I thought of myself as a little classier than that. Fool that I was. And I said, well, I'm going to take they wanted my name above the title at that point in my career. And I said, you're going to have to take it off or I'm not going to do the film. And I said, well, what billing do you want? I said, let me see the film when we put it all together. And I had an idea it wasn't going to be wonderful. You know, Bob Downey Jr. was in it.
Oh,
He
yes.
didn't have any lines,
Yes.
but his father threw him in there.
There was a lot of talent in the picture. Tom Poston was in it.
Sweet man.
Yeah.
Sweet
And
man.
and not only did you have your name removed, but there was a statue of Alfred E. Newman in the movie that Mad Magazine had removed.
I didn't know that.
We had
Yeah.
a couple
That's great trivia.
We had a couple of editors here from Mad Magazine a few weeks ago, and William M. Gaines, the publisher of Mad, also paid something like $350,000 to have Mad's name removed. It wasn't that Mad's name was removed, but they removed all visual references to the mascot.
That's a
Alfred E.
bad film.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dear me. The sky is falling.
That was a play Ron was in, Dear Me, the Sky is Falling.
My
with
first
Gertrude
Broadway
Berg.
play.
Oh, wow.
Dear me, the sky
Oh,
is
tell the
falling.
story. Tell the story. This is a great one.
She's no longer with us. She loved to control. She had a real control thing. And it didn't happen to me. She had a big stomach, and she used to turn sideways and make hand gestures where she wanted the actors to move. The audience couldn't see her hand. And we opened in New Haven, and she got a big laugh, and it was an actor named Michael Basleon who was on stage with her. She wouldn't have done this with me because she knew I was nuts already, so she wouldn't have tried it. But the audience laughed in a place she didn't expect, and she said to him, "Don't move, they're laughing, don't move, it's dying, now you'll walk across the stage." She's doing this
All under her, like,
her
you know,
breath. While
you're laughing, you're
speaking of
laughing. You know, like a ventriloquist.
How would you like
How
somebody
bizarre.
doing it?
Oh.
No, she didn't do it with me. She had me fired every other day, and then the producer kept rehiring me. So.
I want to say one positive thing about Up the Academy, befriend. This is the New York Times. The New York Times raved about Ron's performance. Vincent Canby said Ron Leibman is magnetic in the role.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I found this while digging.
Put your name back on, quick.
And I found another review where they referred to the eternally marvelous Ron Leibman. So there you go.
I never read these things.
I'll send them to you.
Another thing is about reviews, when they're awful, they last forever. And if you're in a play and they're wonderful, they always pick a moment they liked. And if you read that moment is gone the next night. Because what you're thinking of is the review rather than what produced that wonderful moment.
You want to repeat that review, basically, I guess.
It's in your head. You can't get it out of your head. So don't read reviews.
Yeah.
Sing.
I've heard actors say that in stage plays, that they'll get a review on one line they do.
It'll never be the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
It'll
It's
never
over.
be as
It's
fresh
over.
or as
True.
what attracted the critic in the first place. So best to read them when the play closes.
Or not at all. Or have people like you tell Ron how wonderful he was.
I never read those reviews. Thank you for the...
I'll dig it out for you. Well, as long as we're torturing Ron, do we want to bring up, and he brought it up himself.
Yes.
Before we turned the mics on, we had mentioned that Bruce Dern had done the show, and then Ron said, I did a movie with Bruce
Yes.
Dern. And it's a movie that has come up on this show before.
Wonton Tom, the dog who saved Hollywood.
That's the one.
And I played Rudolph Valentino, whose name wasn't Rudolph Valentino in the movie. It was Rudy something or other.
I think it was Rudy Montague.
Rudolph Montague. How wonderful that you remember that. And
He did research, Ronnie.
The character used to...
It's not all up
You
there.
really work. This guy sits here and sings these pathetic songs.
Exactly.
Off key. And he does all the work. Why don't you try singing a little bit?
I was hired from my voice.
Rock-a-bye, oh baby, without Dixie melody.
So what was the point about Wonton Tom?
Wonton Tom, the dog who said, I met Madeline Kahn on that.
That's
on
a
that
great
movie.
cast.
I met Terry Garr on that
Sure.
movie. We had it, and I like Bruce very much. And we were both members of the Actors Studio. And we said, "What the hell are we doing in this movie?"
Well,
But
Phil Silvers and Art Carney you also acted with in that film.
I have no memory.
And
of this.
Wonton. I mean,
There were a lot of people.
Everyone.
Zsa Zsa Gabor was in there.
the Ritz brothers. John Carradine, Johnny Weissmuller. Yeah, Rudy Valley.
Harry Ritz,
Yeah.
who was the lead of the three Ritz brothers who played the mountains and cabarets, was the guy they all stole from. Where Jerry goes, Harry Ritz was doing that first, making those funny
Interesting.
sounds. And they all took for Jan Murray told that story once.
Wow.
Everyone stole from Harry Ritz. And I got to see them. I can't do it because we're not on television. But why they were so funny when they'd sing da 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 da, putting on the Ritz. And Harry Ritz would see a girl and he would step and they'd have to pull him back. The next time they went around the stage, he'd go, and they'd have to pull him back. And finally he went,
There's a little Charlie Callis in there, too. You remember Charlie Callis?
I do indeed.
Sure, he used to do those kind of sounds.
If you ever saw Martin and Lewis, my parents were nightclub people. They loved to go to nightclubs, and they just loved to go to the Copacabana. And I never understood why he always got a table put down in front, because he was in the clothing business. But his partner was not in the clothing business.
Oh.
You see? So we got, and I got to see Martin and Lewis in their native habitat, which is where they began, in Jersey, in the Copacabana, live. Martin and Lewis live was something to behold. I know it wasn't classy, I know it wasn't sophisticated, but it was funny.
Who did you miss in the Copa? Wink, wink.
Oh, I was just going to get to that.
My wife was a Copa girl.
Did you lie about your age to become a Copa girl?
I did. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, you know
Summer
something?
job.
I think it was 1957 or so. Anyway, Luba Lisa, whose real name is Luba Goodnick, she was in the. Well, we all went to.
Luba Goodnick. I love the name.
She became quite well known for a while before she tragically died in an airline crash at 26. But anyway, we went to Performing Arts High School, right 2 blocks away from here, 1 block. And she was in the dance department. I was in the drama department at PA. And when we used to go home on the subway together, which was then the BMT. We would take the BMT to Queens Plaza. She'd get off. I'd go further into Astoria. Gilbert, you remember the BMT and all that stuff?
Oh, my God, yeah.
Sure.
Anyway, so she said, I'm going to go try out for the Copa. She was a dancer. So I'm going to try out for the Copa, and I'm so scared to go alone. Would you, go with me? I said, yeah, I'll go with you. So we go into the nightclub part, and there's a guy, whatever, Luba walks across the stage. Well, I don't know. Anyway, and this guy says, so, girlie, you come on out here. It was really a guy with that kind of voice. And I said, well, I'm just here with a friend. He said, come on. So I walk across the thing. I had my school books in my arm. We didn't have backpacks in those days. And he said, lift your skirt, of course, just above the knee in those days, And I got the job. She never spoke to me again. Oh, my God.
And you became
I got the
a
job,
Copa girl.
yes.
She was a Copa girl.
For the summer.
Wow. Was Jules Podell
Yes.
still
Yes.
around in those days?
Yes.
But it was the summer, so we had people like Ricky Lane in Belleville.
Oh,
That's the worst acting show.
That's come up on this
That is
show.
the worst. Ricky Lane and Velvet.
Well, Paul Schaefer was on one of our
Yes.
first shows,
they
and apparently
both
they were
spoke the
big in
same
Canada.
way. How can you be a ventriloquist? How you doing? How are you? I'm fine. How are you? Are you really fine? Yes, I am. It's the same voice for both the guy and I didn't quite get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have their big
Ricky
big-
Lane and
Yeah, they
Velvet.
didn't
the
have their
best
big.
act.
Or a Sullivan act.
The Great Ballantyne was a great
We
act.
love Carl Ballantine.
Yes.
And he cut the tie up and put it in the hat.
Sure.
Break an egg, and he'd bring it up back up, and it was a broken egg and a tie that was dripping, and he destroyed the guy's tie.
Yeah.
And never returned
At the
it.
Copa, during the summer, they had, and it did not go over, Mort Saul
Oh,
playing the Copa.
wow. Wow.
The
That's
audience was
not
like,
a good
huh?
booking.
Not a good booking, but the summer they were desperate.
Yeah.
I guess he was too. I don't know.
I heard Carl Ballantine, when he was really old, he would get up in the morning and, the garbage men would recognize him. And
What, from
go,
McHale's Navy? and
yeah,
stuff?
yeah, they go, you're Carl Ballantine. Can we have an autograph or take a picture with you? And he goes, yeah, for $5. And they'd give him the $5, and he'd go to a burger place and have lunch.
I always thought Art Matrano was a little bit, maybe
Oh,
a little
yes.
homage to Carl Ballantine, because they both had Carl had the bad magic act, and Art had no act.
Yeah.
None.
Art just had the handkerchief.
The thing about Art that people don't realize, well, they do if they've seen him in a dramatic show, he's a wonderful
Wonderful actor.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
He was on Kaz, too. He was wonderful. Nice.
I remember him in a short-lived series with Jamie Farr called the Chicago Teddy Bears. Anybody? And Marvin Kaplan. Remember Marvin Kaplan?
Marvin, of course.
We had him on the show a
Marvin.
couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
He was very big with the Screen Actors Guild.
Yes, he's
Very big.
he's 90.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was terrific.
We're a
on
terrific
the show.
guest for us. You're a fan of old comedy, Ron. Someone told me you were a Lenny Bruce fan, too.
Oh, major.
So was George Hamilton, which was a big surprise. When we did whatever that was.
Zorro, the gay blade.
Zorro.
The Gay Blade. I thought George was going to be a jerk, a Hollywood jerk. He turned out to be the most sophisticated guy, and he turned out that Lenny Bruce was his favorite comedian. That takes a certain amount of sophistication, I think, because I love Lenny Bruce.
Now, you've never played in Lenny, I guess.
I was asked to do it in London, and I couldn't do it. I was doing something else, yeah.
It seems like it would have been a
Perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect for you.
Cliff Gorman did it.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace.
Sure, Cliff
yeah.
Gorman. And then Dustin in the movie, Hoffman. Can we ask you guys some questions that
Of course.
our fans sent us as we wind this down?
Absolutely.
And let you get on with your lives? God, this has been fun. I'm just gonna run through a couple of these quick, Gil, if that's okay.
Yes.
Steve Camilli. I just saw Jessica on stage in Steel Magnolias. Can you ask her if she has a particular standout stage experience? Was it? Ron is pointing to
yes.
God, that's
I was a stage experience.
so many. I don't know. It's strange. There was one play I did, photo finish with Peter Ustinov. I was very young, and I can't explain it. Very rarely, when you're on stage, you have this kind of surreal, ethereal kind of experience where you're one with the audience, and it's like magic. I had a moment like that in that play.
Do you remember this piece of music, Frank? Do we have this queued up by chance? This is speaking of Jessica in the theater.
I do. Stand by.
You might get a kick out of this.
Oh my God!
Why can't you behave?
Of course, Kiss Me Kate.
Yeah,
That was Michael Callan.
you and Michael Callan. Is he still around?
I don't
Remember
know.
Michael Callan?
Oh, yeah.
Gilbert?
Mickey
Yes.
Mickey Callan.
Mickey
I think
Callan,
he went
yeah.
live.
Mickey
Yeah.
Callan.
A lot of work.
And look at the picture he's got going there from Grand Prix with an umbrella. Oh my God!
We do deep research here.
You do. God.
You did that for television in the 60s?
Yes,
Kiss Me
for
Kate?
Armstrong Circle Theater.
Wow.
Yeah, those were the days.
My
With
goodness.
Robert Goulet and Carol Lawrence were the
Sure. They were married.
They were
Yeah.
married, yeah.
Here's a question.
Julie Munchin.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead,
Here's
Gil.
a question that I want to, because both of you are such experienced stage actors. What do you do? Do you ever have those moments where you've been on stage and you feel like, I just don't have a grasp of this? Like in some scene or the whole thing?
You mean it was off that night, or you never had it?
Well, like, some maybe off that night, or maybe if you never felt like the character was totally yours or anything like that.
Very little of that, because I was always very careful about what I would do. If I had no connection, I wouldn't do it. I would turn it down, much to agents' chagrin, because they want you to do everything so they can make their 10%. But I wouldn't do a lot of stuff. You don't get a medal for that. It's just for me. Just for me. I don't preach it.
Yeah.
For young actors who I teach all the time now. No, but I sure have had those moments where you think you're flying, and there's nothing like it.
That's a good way to put it, Ronnie.
Like you're flying.
You're flying, absolutely flying.
on
Very
stage.
rare.
Wow.
I had that in Angels. I had that almost every performance, because the writing of that character was so brilliant, and so we're talking about playing the nasty people. They're always more.
Yeah.
Isn't Iago more interesting than Othello? He is to me. And
For the record, I was the voice of Iago.
Oh my God!
Iago, the parrot.
Oh, yes,
actual
I
Iago.
read that about you. We've researched you a little bit too, you know.
Now go back, Ron.
we have looked you up
We googled you.
and down.
Just to see if he was okay.
It's quite an interesting history of it.
Yes, we're very impressed with you, Gilbert.
Your childhood, you were influenced by comedy deeply, yes?
Yes.
It really hit your heart. My first realization that life I did not have a particularly happy childhood, and not unusual as actors go. But what saved my life was the Marx Brothers.
Oh,
When
yeah.
I discovered the Marx
that's
Brothers.
nice to hear.
And people said they're surreal. I said, no, they're not surreal. That's reality, man. That's the reality I understand. Make that 3 hard-boiled eggs.
I didn't know he was such a gifted mimic. He really has. I haven't
Yes.
seen him do voices in movies. He's very good.
Yeah. You know, he's Ron Cadillac in Archie.
I know that. Yeah. But I haven't seen him. I didn't know he could do Walter Brennan and Groucho and Jerry.
It's pathetic, isn't it?
Gilbert
Sad.
got on stage at 15 for the first time.
Doing what?
Yeah, I just some open mic night.
Oh, my God. What courage.
Yeah, or stupidity.
What? No, that's a courage. Yeah, you weren't stupid. I don't see you as a stupid
No,
kid.
you're not stupid.
You sing,
way.
you sing much too much, but
You know,
beside that,
the first
I
time
see you as a smart kid. I'm serious.
We've known each other a long time, and the first time I saw him on stage at a club called the Comic Strip, he was doing material about Ben Gazzara.
Oh, my God.
And Norman Fell. And I was one of those kids that read credits and watched, and I thought, who is this person that would get on stage? And I wondered how
Good
many
for
people.
you.
Yeah, really
I love Ben
esoteric
Gazzara.
references.
He's a friend of mine.
And to this day, I still do imitations of John MacGyver.
Remember John MacGyver from Midnight Cowboy? He'll do the voice. You'll
Do
recognize
the voice.
it.
Do the
it.
voice.
Heavy set guy.
Yeah, he'd bald, heavy set. He'd usually be a pompous authority figure. And it was always, everything in this hotel must be run according to schedule.
Now I know who it is. Absolutely know who it
You
is.
should do an evening of obscure references.
John
a whole
MacGyver.
hour and a half.
We hardly knew ye. Here's one for Ron from Facebook. Ron was unforgettable in Super Cops and Norma Ray. How did he like working in Opelika, Alabama? Opelika, sorry. And he's played a lot of real-life characters. Has he ever met any?
Yeah, I met the guy in Super Cops who was a cop.
Oh, Greenberg.
Greenberg wound up in prison. That would have been a more interesting movie than the one that
Oh, we like
made.
Super Cops. That's another one of those movies where you get to see old New York.
And Norma Ray, I met Marty Ritt, had a meeting with Marty Ritt, who should be on your list of wonderful directors. by the
Yeah,
way.
also blacklisted.
Yes. And
Yeah.
he did Sounder, he did The Long
Oh, I
Hot Summer.
love his work.
But I sat in his office and he said, I'm going to have to ask you to, I know your career is where it is, we don't have to ask you to audition, because if it doesn't work between you and Sally, we have no movie. It becomes a documentary about forming a union, and that's not a movie, that's a documentary. What a smart man. So I worked with Sally. We never met each other, and it was one of those moments. We did a scene for them, and the chemistry, whatever you want to call it, it was there. And we have remained friends through the years.
You were the union organizer, right?
Yeah, I was the one out to get her and change her life. It was like Pygmalion Galatea story. And it was wonderful. That was an experience that is unforgettable, as Angels was in the theater, Norma Ray was. I'm a lucky guy, I just realized that.
Your
Look at
Tony
the
speech is
material
very
I got.
touching, by the way. Watched it. It's on YouTube.
Which
Your
is?
Tony acceptance speech
Oh.
for Angels. It's very short and sweet.
Thank you so much.
He
And I
thanked them
also-
for 563 producers.
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
thank the 563
I think they
producers.
gave you 30 seconds.
Here's one for you, Jessica.
Yes.
Someone, Greg Pear, P-A-I-R, please ask Jessica about her turn as Morgan Le Fay in Marvel's Doctor Strange movie.
Oh, my goodness.
Any memories of that? That's it.
Well, I'll tell you, memories. You know, she comes back as 500 years old or something in the end, and I had to have that face mask that they do. They build the old age thing. It's like claustrophobic. What do they call that, Ron?
The life mask?
You know, a mask of you, and then they make it.
Yeah, a
old.
life
It
mask.
is a life mask.
Yeah.
That's what they
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah, I own a few of those of other actors.
And it was. I remember that they like you have to be put in plaster.
Plaster.
You know, and it dries on you. It's very frightening.
They've done it of me where they'd like put a straw,
Put a straw so
Yes.
you
in
can
your
breathe,
nose.
yeah.
Yes. Oh
and
my God.
and you are lying there and you're going, even if you're not claustrophobic.
You become close.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I remember that about it, and I thought it was a pretty good movie of the week. Now they're going to do it. I hear as a movie.
They're doing it as a
movie.
big budget movie, yeah.
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 I did that for Slaughterhouse 5 because the guy at the end, Lazaro,
Yeah, you were the psycho.
he get once again onto the breach, dear friends. And at the end of the movie, he's an old man, so I had to do that. Oh, that was scary.
But those people are real artists who do that. The makeup
Oh,
people.
my God.
These are the guys at Universal. Did you
Yeah,
do
yeah.
videos at Universal? They had a whole department for that.
John something famous. He
John Chambers.
Yes, John Chambers.
Now, John,
That I can remember. I can't remember my name, what happened yesterday.
John Chambers, I think that's the makeup artist who that whole Argo incident was based
Yes,
on.
yes.
Where they went to the Middle East and said they were,
Right.
that John Goodman played him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And since you both work for Lumet, which we talked about before, but we talked about the group And I want to ask Ron about a good performance and as the DA in Night Falls on Manhattan.
Yes. He had seen me in Angels and wanted me to play this character. And I love working with him and Andy Garcia. If you ever have a sweet guy on, get Andy.
We'll try.
And
What a
talented.
lovely man.
We'll try.
Lovely and
We're trying to get
talented man.
Dreyfus.
Dreyfus was in that.
Yeah.
Klinghoffer. He played Klinghoffer, right?
He kept pushing his glasses up.
Do the thing that you did.
Oh,
you
I used to
can't,
drive
it's
him
not
crazy.
TV.
Off camera. And it would swing around, and I'd be in the shot, and he was walking around there. I would stick a tissue in my nose. The camera didn't see it, but Dreyfus would see it. Just trying to shake some reality into his performance.
Stop it. He doesn't mean
I'm
that.
teasing, Richard.
Richard.
It's the truth.
I was in
pushing
the show
Richard.
with Richard. We're changing the subject right now.
What did you do with him?
Victory at Entebbe.
Oh, sure, with Kirk Douglas and
All those big stars.
Helen Hayes is in
Theo
that.
Bickel,
Yeah.
Helen Hayes.
Here's two last quick
All
ones.
right.
Ron Leibman is unforgettable in a film called Your 3 Minutes Are Up.
Oh, my
With
God.
Bo Bridges.
I would love to hear his thoughts on that one.
We became very close friends, and we had a hell of a time. It was an independent, small-budget film. And I fell in love with Bo, and then, of course, we did Norma Marie together. And then he asked me to do a movie that he was directing. So we worked together 3 times. And that whole family is a wonderful family, the Bridges family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really nice, good people. And we had a nice time. I don't know how many strange memories. We just had a good time doing
Yeah.
it.
Lloyd Bridges was in the Fiji, Australia love boat.
That's
I
right.
spent 2 weeks on a boat with him.
You're also
Nice
in the
man.
you're also in the very first episode of Flipper, which is the trivia.
I was in the first episode of Flipper, and you
Yes.
want to hear the awful what they did? I thought
This is my new favorite episode.
it was actually, I think it was the pilot of Flipper. But anyway, so we're out there on the sea, and the basis of the story was that a helicopter had dropped some medical stuff, and it didn't hit the boat. It went down into the sea, so Flipper has to go find it and bring it up. So they have a helicopter, and out comes the dolphin into the sea. And I said, oh, my God, that's so amazing. They said, well, he's a dead frozen dolphin.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah. Well, maybe I shouldn't have told that story.
That's okay.
Well, you can make up for that story by telling Gilbert what Raymond Burr was really like.
I liked Raymond Burr.
We're fans.
Of what, Raymond Burr?
Yeah.
The best thing about when I would come home from Steel Magnolias, it's in New Hope, Pennsylvania, and they don't the apartment that was offered had like 3 stations, and one of them is Me TV. Out
Which
of New
we've
Jersey.
been we've been watching it, yeah.
In
Which I
Jersey, it's
love.
a
And the
great
best
station.
thing, I'd come home, home about 11:30, and watch Perry Mason on Me TV. I love those old shows.
Yeah.
We
You were-
watched Columbo on Sunday night.
Yeah, Sunday nights, Me TV is in Pound Ridge, where we have a country house, and we watch Columbo.
You found your episode?
We did once find my episode. They had it on.
You also did McLeod, McMillan and Wife, Tenafly. Banachek. Tenafly with James McEachin from Play Misty for Me.
The best.
Yeah, we brought these shows up
Yes,
on here.
the black TV detective.
I was working
Tenafly.
off Broadway for $45 a week. I didn't know her then.
Right.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
You worked arguably as much as any actress,
I
any
did.
television
More.
actress, and yeah.
I was very lucky.
Yeah. It's
You know
Not
what?
luck. It's never luck. You
one of
weren't
those
lucky.
shows, the Robert Stack one, A Name of the Game. What was it called?
Oh, my God,
Robert
yes.
Stack.
Yeah.
The Untouchables?
No, it was in the mystery.
Yeah.
It was like in the late 60s.
There was the one
God.
with Rock
Robert
Hudson.
Stack
Was there one with Robert Stack?
and the one with Tony.
Curtis.
Robert-
Tony Franciosa
Robert
had one.
Stack was the head of a publishing company.
I don't even remember that show.
Yeah.
Tony Curtis's was called McCoy.
It was
Right.
called Name of the Game.
Oh, the name of the
Yes,
game. Well, that
yes.
was Gene Barry and Tony Franciosa.
Right, and Robert Stack.
Oh.
Robert Stack was in one of those mystery movies or something. But my point was, so after the OJ thing, I realized in that show, my character, of course, the bad girl, has to go into they had recreated the real San Quentin gas chamber, and they had 2 extras One was a white guard and one was a black guard. That leads me into the gas chamber, and it was O.J.
Wow.
He was making extra money when he was going to USC.
He used to be an extra.
Wow.
And,
He was an extra,
And I did the Bobby Vinton show. Remember? Da, 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 da.
Oh,
Gilbert,
yes.
Take it
Oh,
away.
you can
Yes.
sing
Take
it.
it away.
See, I don't know the
You're
words,
on.
but I remember it. Da 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 da.
We had to encourage him.
We shouldn't have.
Oh my God! I'm so
anyway-
sorry.
So I was a guest. I sang. I was a guest, and OJ was a guest because he was such a big star at the time. I forget when this was, like early 70s or something.
You danced with him.
And at the end, we all do the polka. Da, da, da. And he was my partner. I have it on tape.
You did a
held
I
the
danced with a
hand.
murderer.
You did a
You
polka?
held the hand that held
A
the
polka
knife.
with
that-
OJ, and I have it on tape.
Wowee.
Whoa.
Maybe,
And how did we find it? Tell him
We
how
were,
we found
we
it.
were looking for Shecky Green.
On the
She was on one of those talk shows.
we had
Mike
Shecky
Douglas
here.
show.
We had Shecky here.
Isn't he the funniest?
He and Gilbert had a little run-in.
Oh no!
Yes.
Why? What
I
happened?
was at some Friars thing.
Yeah.
And out of nowhere, I do my set, and then someone else, he was supposed to follow me.
Right.
And then I found out that Joy Behar who wasn't supposed to be on, and she goes, "Boy, isn't that Shecky an asshole?" And Shecky was like screaming about my set, saying, I was in the Navy. I never heard words like that. And he tried to throw a punch at like Stewie Stone or Freddie Roman. And it was.
He had a little meltdown. But then we had him on the show.
And it was not much better.
No, he gave us about 20 minutes and hung up on us.
Oh God!
And 20 minutes that you couldn't use one, really.
Oh, wow.
We used it. Funny guy.
But how we found out about the OJ thing was we were looking for this interview that I had done on the Mike Douglas show, and for the skit with Shecky.
We were looking for that skit,
And we're
which
running
I had
the
never
tape,
seen.
and all of a
obviously.
sudden Ron said, "Wait!" And this was right during the trial. Ron said, "Wait a minute!
my
Wait a
God.
minute! It's you and OJ dancing the polka."
That's wild.
I had forgotten about it.
That is wild.
Oh my God!
You can go to the Museum of Television and Radio and find some of those.
Yes,
old,
you can.
Yeah, it's great.
You know, I
resource.
had never seen Play Misty for Me. I'd seen pieces of it on television, and we were dating. She said, "Well, why don't I put it on the VCR, and I'll go and make dinner in the kitchen." So I'm watching this thing, and she's killing about 1,100 people. And in the kitchen, I hear she's chopping with a knife. I said, "If you're going to leave, you will leave now."
I love that.
Oh my God!
That is great.
Okay.
She only killed 2 people, to be fair.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
John Larch and
the housekeeper.
Clarice.
Yeah.
Clarice
Was
Taylor.
that really you floating in the water at the
Yeah.
end? Did you do your own stunt?
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't fall from the
Sorry
cliff,
to give away the payoff.
Yeah.
but
If you haven't seen it by now.
I was game.
It's 1926 it was made, I think.
That I have to just say
Young.
that was, as Ron said, Norma Ray was such an experience. That was a wonderful experience.
Oh, yeah.
Clint Eastwood, the best.
And Don Siegel is the bartender.
Yeah.
The great Don Siegel.
Yeah.
He had him around just
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
That was the first day of shooting. Was that scene in the bar
Yeah.
with Don?
As I said, you're so good in the film.
Oh, thank
Where you run the gamut.
Great role. You know, we have this saying, Ronnie and I, if it ain't on the page, it ain't on the stage. Just like with Angels, how brilliantly
that.
it was written. It's sort of like with Archer. I mean, how he comes up with these
Adam Reed.
things. Adam Reed, he's so brilliant.
Yeah, he's very brilliant. You guys have done everything. This has been quite a ride. What do you think?
We
Bill?
totally enjoyed it.
It's 112
Now
degrees
let's
in
all
this room.
sing together. You remember the Breakfast Club when you were a kid? Good morning, Breakfast Clubbers. It's nice to see you. Another cheery greetings away we bring you. First call to breakfast. Philco's call to breakfast. Ba-da-da.
We sing
we're
that.
out.
We sing that to my best friend Louise Sorrell. We sing that to her. We sing that to her every morning. We call her and we wake her with that song.
Hilarious.
Do you remember, or you're too young for the Breakfast Club? Don McNeil and the Breakfast Club.
Wow.
Oh,
I
my
was going
God.
to try to get Ron to go for whatever it is I'm against it from Horse
Yes.
Feathers, since he loves the Marx Brothers so much.
Oi.
That
But
is-
Oh, my God.
do you remember Don McNeil and the Breakfast Club?
No.
can't say I
He's
do either.
young.
Out of Chicago.
He's a young guy. He died young.
Well, we were
Mama.
like really young when we heard that on the radio.
That is
You
fantastic.
just stayed home from school.
As much as I hate for people other than myself to sing on the podcast, that was great. That was incredible.
We'll have to teach it to you. So
Yeah.
Bored the rest of
We
America.
could have a trio.
That was great.
I have one last question
okay.
to throw in before we go, and this is from Joe Dater, D-A-T-O-R. Will Ron Leibman ask you to take his name off this episode?
That's funny.
Yeah.
He's nodding.
Never.
Right, yes.
He's nodding.
And now, Robert
you.
Redford.
Oh, I love working with him.
Yeah.
He's a sweet guy.
Yeah.
I'm a very dedicated fellow for a lot of causes, a lot
absolutely.
of good stuff. He does a lot of
Absolutely.
good stuff. Besides Sundance, my God, how much work is he giving
Yeah.
people?
And Burt Lancaster.
I never worked with Burt Lancaster.
You did Victory at Entebbe, but you probably didn't have
Oh,
any
I
I
scenes
didn't have
with
any
him.
have
scenes
a
with him.
scene.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Nor did I have scenes with Elizabeth.
There was an
Taylor.
article in today's Times about Victory at Entebbe, and that's where Netanyahu's brother was killed.
Right.
He's the first Israeli. He was the only Israeli soldier killed. And that has special meaning, obviously, for Netanyahu.
I remember there were two movies out. There was that one, Raid on Ontario.
There was Raid
Yeah,
and there
Raid
was
and
Victory.
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 I was
Yeah,
the
with
Victory.
Charles Bronson.
Right.
That was the other one.
Why do I remember Yaphet Kotto being in
Yes, he played, what's his
Yeah,
name,
that's-
the African.
Edie Amin.
Idi Amin.
You know who
Yes,
played
Idi
Edie Amin and
Died.
on the set? Godfrey Cambridge.
Oh,
kidding.
that's, I've heard
We're
that.
fans
I
of
was
Godfrey
standing there.
Cambridge.
Who was also in Bye Bye Braverman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a New York actor.
Yeah, funny guy.
Yes, a nice man.
That was really.
Well, Gil,
I
That's not
just,
a good way to end the show, though. is
Just
it?
a couple of weeks ago, I was walking down the street, and one guy looked at me, and he goes, "Oh, I know you. You're Godfrey
Oh
Cambridge."
dear.
So long
Not anymore.
for a while. That's all the songs
No, wait,
for a while.
Ronnie, wait. When he said "You're Godfrey Cambridge," it made me think of Joan Crawford and
Oh, my God.
Katharine Hepburn.
Yeah. They lived in the same
They
neighborhood.
lived in the same neighborhood, and people would always come by and say to Katharine Hepburn, "Oh, Miss Crawford, aren't you children?"
And
anyway,
she
so
signed
wait,
Joan
and
Crawford.
that's not the point. Anyway,
33 years of
Hey.
joy.
you two are a pair.
anyway, poor Joan Crawford died, and Katharine Hepburn was taking a walk, and somebody said, "Oh, Miss Crawford." She said, "I'm not Miss Crawford anymore."
Oh, that's nice.
You ruined it. I was on a run with it. And you ruined it.
You two have to do it to I don't know what it is, the gin game, something where you can get this repartee going.
This
On
is
stage,
like,
nothing. We just.
Right.
this was like sitting with Stiller and Mirror.
So,
Oh, that's a compliment. I love
Yeah.
them.
Oh, yes.
so quick plugs, Jessica.
Yes.
Archer.
Archer.
On FX.
Archer on FX, yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to season 8. Going to Comic-Con next week.
It's wonderful
For
and
Archer.
funny. And Ron is on the show as Ron Cadillac.
He has
Yeah.
been.
And I teach at the new school.
Yeah, what do you teach?
Yes.
Acting, obviously.
What do I teach? Ballet. What do I teach?
Snowboarding.
Well, it could have been acting for the stage. It could have been acting for the
Algebra
screen.
2. I teach Algebra 2. I flunked Algebra 1 twice.
He's a great teacher, that I can tell you. The kids worship him.
I love teaching.
And I will
really
say
do.
this. Is this the end of the show? 'Cause I want to end on a positive
Yes.
note here.
And on an
And with the
upbeat.
song.
I have learned more about acting from Ron Leibman than I did from any acting teacher or any experience that I've ever had on the stage. Wow. That I will tell you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, now I'm going to wrap up the show, and I want you to sing that song you started singing.
Which
What
one?
song?
Which, goodbye.
The Breakfast Club again?
No. The other
Oh,
one.
it was it's from television. So long
For a while, that's all the songs for a while. Your hit parade.
So long
from your hit parade. And the songs that you pick to be played.
So long.
Lucky Strike means 5 tobacco.
Well, this is...
That was the
Goodbye,
Lucky Strike hit
Godfrey.
parade.
Goodbye, everybody. Nice to see you in the television show. Very good. He's very funny.
This has been Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal Podcast with my co-host, Frank Santopadre, once again at Nutmeg with our engineer, Frank Verderosa.
Thank you, Frank Verderosa.
And we have been talking to the double great Ron Leibman and Jessica Walter.
I don't think I've ever been this entertained by guests on this
I
show.
bet you
in
have.
115 episodes. You guys are...
You mean we don't get any money for this?
Yeah. And
Oh, wait a minute. Hold it.
You're two guests who make me feel like singing.
That's sweet.
It's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We
This
had
was
such
fun.
a good time.
It's the most fun I've ever had on one of these.
And I have to
things.
thank
I'm
Frank
serious.
because I know he said, oh, I have to talk to them. And would you do the show?
It's you guys. No,
Thank you.
it's you
Joy.
guys. If you didn't have the personas that allowed this, we would just clam up.
Well,
Yes,
I've clammed up
it's
before.
true.